I just realized that I wrote this sign and I think it's backward because it's a mirror. Best intentions, friends. So, in case you can't read backward, 2 blocks and a space to put your legs up the wall. So, however that works for you, we'll get started here in just a minute. Good evening. My clock says 7:30, so I will go ahead and get started. Welcome to your 45-minute blissful night of yin. Hopefully we can settle into some deep poses tonight, stretching out that connective tissue and send you all off to bed feeling great and loose. If you can, start this evening in a hero's pose, so that's that kneeling pose, shins, tops of the feet on the floor. If it's more comfortable for you, you can always bring a block in between the legs, finding that block to find on top of the sits bones. That takes a little relief off the tops of the thighs. Find that upper back, that lower back, that back in general, finding length, shoulders down away from the ears. Allowing yourself to settle in. To let go of anything that you don't need for the next 45 minutes. As I want to share a reading out of my yoga book with you. Today on April 7th, chance encounters can transform our lives. Sometimes people enter our life at a particular time for a particular reason. They may be disruptive or soothing. They may help us or challenge us. But regardless, they get us to a new place. We need to be disrupted, and other times we need assistance or support. And we may encounter just the right person to help us make that shift, whether it concerns an exciting new life decision or the realization that we need to let something go. The person may remain in our life or may vanish, but we can be grateful for their having been a catalyst for growth and change. If there's someone who has recently served this purpose for you, offer that person gratitude for helping you grow. Funny reading for today, April 7th, considering the new people in our lives should be at least 6 feet away from us. But that aside, maybe you take a moment and reflect on the important people in your life, or the people that have come and gone in your life that have taught you something. If you haven't already, bring the eyes to close, lips to seal, and just start to notice the breath traveling in and out of the nose. Just noticing at first how the breath is. On your next inhale, notice if you can take that breath and send it really deep down, almost sending it down to the hips, letting those lower abdominals expand, filling with breath. And as you exhale, allowing that space to return to neutral, breath leaving the body as it warms the back of the throat. Continue to focus on sending that breath far down deep into the abdomen. On your next inhale, maybe you begin to add a count of 4 or 5. Maybe you decide to recite a mantra or simply set an intention. Just noticing that if you recite that mantra, add that count, or choose an intention, match that exhale, the length of the inhale. Just finding balance. Starting to take in a little more oxygen. Starting to let go of a little more. On your next inhale, finding length in that spine, length in the neck. We'll take an exhale as that right ear falls over to that right shoulder, opening up that left side of the neck. If it feels good in your body, that right hand can reach up and gently just rest on the left side of the face. Just that extra little weight, just to encourage that right ear to reach a little lower. Right hand, lifting the head up through center, and as you exhale, left ear over to left shoulder. Left arm can lift, this time resting on the right side of the face. Rising up through center, removing that hand, allowing the crown of the head to lift and then gently fall toward the back of your room, gazing up toward your ceiling. You can even take the jaw and lift it toward the sky, opening the mouth, maybe just finding that extra stretch down the front of the neck. Take that inhale as you lift the head up through center, and then on your next exhale, allow the chin to fall in toward the chest, opening up the back of the neck. If it feels good for you, you can take both hands, lightly rest them on the back of the head. Removing those hands, lifting the head up through center. We'll take the gaze over the right shoulder. Gaze coming through center and then gazing over the left. Coming through center, nodding the head up and down, marking that yes. And then taking this moment for whatever you'd like. Maybe it's just a slight little head roll. Maybe it's dropping the right ear over to the right shoulder, dropping the chin down toward the chest, and then the left ear over the left shoulder, coming back through. Lifting that head, finding length all the way up and through, feeling the tops of the shins, the tops of the feet root into the earth. We'll take a moment here, bringing the hands back behind us. I will turn so that I'm sideways to you. Finding that top of the foot stretch. We can simply place the hands here, find that stretch in the tops of the thighs, opening the chest, maybe gazing towards the sky. If you want to send that stretch foot, lift the knees, coming onto the tops of the feet. Breathe. Lowering the knees. If you allowed the crown of the head to fall back, slowly lift the gaze back up through center, walking those hands in, countering out that foot stretch, finding that stretch in the bottom of your foot. If you are wearing high heels today, good for you, because I haven't worn them in a long time. But if you wore some uncomfortable shoes, tuck the toes under, press the hips down and back, lift that upper body up. Now being gentle here, remembering yin, we're looking for that sweet discomfort. That 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you're pressing those hips all the way back and the feet are screaming, bring them forward a little bit. Breathe. Gently walk the hands forward. We'll untuck the toes. Bring the blocks or the blanket or the pillow that you have nearby. The knees back. Bringing the knees below the hips, the hands below the shoulders, just beginning to find those cats and cows. You can take an inhale, tilt the tailbone up, lift the gaze. Exhale, tilt the tailbone down, lift the spine vertebrae by vertebrae, and let the head hang heavy. One of my favorite yoga teachers, that scaredy Halloween cat. Moving through here with your breath. Let your cat and cow evolve. Let it move for what your spine wants. Remember, we want to take it all those directions that we can. Side to side, bend it, roll it, twist it. And we'll come back through center when you are ready. This month, I will be focusing on a specific pose every single yin practice. This month is going to be frog pose. So every yin you do with me this month, we will do frog. So if if frog is your favorite, you're in luck. If frog is not your favorite, you're stuck. So we'll notice where the hands are falling right now, and we'll begin to bend the elbows, bringing the elbows down right to where the palms of the hands were. Taking our blocks, our rolled blanket, our towel, we'll begin to set them up. We have the option here to run them across that sternum space, or we can run it parallel with that sternum in between the breastbones. We're looking for a platform to set up here so we can sink really deep into that hip stretch. So you'll place your body on those blocks and begin to walk the knees to the outer edges of the mat, sinking into opening up those hips. Noticing if the blocks are too high, you can simply move one out of the way, maybe take one on a higher level. Remembering we're looking for that 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. If you get there and you're like, I'm just still not feeling it, notice my foot. I can take my toes, point them out, almost like that really frog-like stance. So remembering our 3 principles of yin, we find our pose. We look for our edge, so our 5 on the scale of 1 to 10. We find stillness once we find that space. And then we settle for time. 4 minutes here in this frog. 4 minutes to notice the breath. 4 minutes to stretch that connective tissue. Already a minute in. Noticing in this minute mark, if you've kept still, do you want a little more? Do you want to maybe spread those hips a little wider? Soften through the palms, loosen the fingers. Coming to that halfway mark. Noticing if maybe you want to take a block beneath that forehead so you can release the neck. Remembering that breath we created at the beginning of the class, remembering to send that breath as deep down into that lower abdomen as you can. Almost as if you're trying to breathe into that space of the hips, that inner part of the thigh. Send that oxygen to this space. Less than a minute left here. Notice where the mind is. Notice if you can bring it back. On your next inhale, lift that upper body up, slide that block or whatever is underneath you out. And while you be tempted to press the hips back, allow yourself to crawl forward, coming down onto the belly, leaving the legs nice and wide for just a moment, letting one cheek find the earth, and then slowly begin to slide those legs together. You can only see half my body. That is so interesting. From here, I will find the right cheek coming down to the mat. We'll send that right arm out nice and long to the side. Left hand will plant under that left shoulder, and we'll roll onto the right side, finding a shoulder stretch. So just settling in here, that upper leg can stay right where it is. You can bend that leg, bring that knee to point up toward the sky. Stretching into that right shoulder. Definitely remember to turn my phone sideways next week so you can see my whole body. But you're not looking at me anyway. You're looking inward, right? Coming through center. We'll send that left arm out long, this time to that T. Right hand comes beneath that right shoulder, and we'll roll on to our right side. I'm just going to lift myself up, spin myself around, so we can find that shoulder stretch on the opposite side. Right leg can stay where it is, or you can bend it, bring it behind the leg. Breathe. Notice where you're feeling the sensation. When you feel even from this side to the other, roll back onto your belly. We'll bring the elbows beneath the shoulders, setting ourselves up for a Sphinx pose. So arms or forearms are shoulder width apart, spreading the fingertips nice and wide, lifting that upper body, feeling that arc in the lower back. The head is almost a flower. The neck is the stem, finding length, breathing. If you're finding a nice sensation in the lower spine, you can stay right here. If you'd like a little more, you can press into the palms, really rooting into all of those fingertips, lifting yourself up into a seal pose. So a deeper sensation in the lower back here, lengthening out the arms, and you might even feel this in the back of the triceps, thinking about that length, pulling the ears away and breathing. Noticing as we focus on sending that breath deep into that belly space, maybe those lower abdomens press into the floor as you breathe and press the breath into the lower back. If you lifted into that seal pose, go ahead and begin to lower down, bringing the elbows back to the mat. Slide the palms back so that they come beneath the shoulders. Big movement here as we press into the palms. Press all the way back, bringing those hips back over the heels, reaching the arms up nice and long. If you can, leave the knees together so you can find that nice rounding in of the spine in our child's pose. Bringing that third eye space, that space in between the eyes on the forehead, down to the mat. Walking the fingertips off the right side of the mat. Left hand rests on top of the right, finding a side bend in this child's pose. Walking those hands back through center. This time we'll walk the hands off the left side, right hand stacks on top of the left. Walking the hands back through center, we'll bring ourselves back to that tabletop space. Have a block or a blanket handy. We'll move into our next yin pose. Taking a moment here just in this tabletop, maybe shaking out the hips, a cat or cow or two, that snake-like movement. And then we'll begin to set up for our next pose. We'll come into a pigeon. So we'll take that right knee and we'll lift it up. We'll bring it up to that right wrist. Help that right shin to run as close to parallel to the front of the mat as we can. As we do so, we're gonna put some energy into that back left leg. Inchworm that back left leg back behind you. And notice where your hips are. If you're rolling into one side or the other, see if you can just use that center of gravity to even everything out. If your hips are saying, no way, lady or sir, you can go ahead and tuck under that space or roll up a blanket. And then here we are looking for that place, that 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. So maybe we just bring the hands down to the floor, staying up nice and high. Maybe explore coming down to the forearms. Maybe we bring the head to a block, or maybe we bring the forehead all the way down. Noticing here as we settle in for 3 minutes, if we find that 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe we want to inchworm that left leg back just a little bit. Once we find that 5 on our scale of 1 to 10, we can just find stillness. We can take that monkey mind from running all over the place and focus it on the breath. A minute into this pigeon pose. Thinking about that breath traveling deep into the lower abdominals. Noticing here if there's any places where you can soften in. Maybe it's just the shoulders, Or maybe you release that left knee soft into the earth. Or maybe it's just the fingers that give them a slight wiggle and you just allow them to not engage. About a minute left here. We'll go to the 3.5 minute mark just to really sink nice and deep into those hips. Noticing your breath. If the mind begins to wander, just allow that thought bubble to float by like a cloud in the sky. Take an inhale through the nose. Exhale it out the mouth, and on your next inhale, begin to walk the hands back towards you, lifting yourself back up. Now we'll do something we said we weren't going to do. We'll roll onto that right hip. I'm just going to simply turn my body as I swing my left leg around so I can show you where we're going. We're going to a shoelace or a cow face pose. So key here is both sits bones are going to find the earth. I'm going to swing that left leg all the way around so that it stacks on top of the right. Now, what might happen depending on your body type and your hips is maybe that knee doesn't want to stack. That's okay. I want you to focus on those sits bones down into the earth. Option to stay right here, or if you'd like, we can take those eagle arms, take the eagle arms out long to the side because that left leg's on top. We'll bring that left arm under, crossing, making that X, bending the arms, bringing the palms of the hands together, and we'll lift those fingertips up. Lifting those elbows up to shoulder height. Maybe you even gaze through that little keyhole you created. Saying maybe a moment of gratitude to those hips. A moment of gratitude to those shoulders. Option to stay here. If you want to stretch deeper into the shoulders, you can hook those elbows on the outside of that knee, hinging over. Wherever you go, whatever you do, breathe. Could somebody make a comment and let me know that you can still see me? Only because my number of people left the screen. If you're folded over, go ahead and begin to rise back up, untangling those arms, letting everything go. I'm wondering if I lost the video connection. Just leaning over, looking at everybody. I'm hoping you can still see me. We'll get ready for that pigeon pose on the opposite side. So I'm just going to turn my body to the other way. Tabletop space. Shaking everything out for a moment. Bring that left knee up to that left wrist. Bring that shin to run as close to parallel to the front of the mat as we can. And then I'll inchworm that right leg long back behind me. Thinking about squaring those hips evenly down to the earth. And then we'll begin to explore this space to find our 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'll bring myself further down, noticing what feels right in your body. And then once we've found that 5, we'll begin to just sit, find that place of stillness. The reading I shared with you tonight are people that come in and out of our lives, and it reminded me of a yoga reading. A yoga reading reminded me of a yoga reading, a yoga story where a woman was coming home from work one day, and as she pulled in her driveway, she noticed 3 gentlemen sitting on a bench across the street from her home. She walked over to them and she said, "Well, what are your names?" And one said, "I'm Love." The other said, "I'm Wealth." And the other said, "I'm Health." And she said, "Well, what are you doing? I'd love for you to come to dinner tonight." Random, I know, like you'd invite 3 strangers into your house, but they said, "Well, you can only invite one of us in." So she said, "All right." So she went home, she talked to her partner and explained the situation and said, "Love, Health, and Wealth are sitting across the street, but I can only invite one of them in for dinner." And the partner said, "Well, I trust you to choose the best one." So she goes back outside, looks at the 3 gentlemen and said, "Well, if I have to only pick one of you to come in for dinner, I invite Love." And as she said that, they stood up and began to walk toward her home. And she said, "Whoa, I thought I could only invite one of you to dinner." And they looked at her and said, "When you invite Love into your home, Health and Wealth will follow." I always enjoy that story because, especially at times like these when we need to be focusing on what we're thankful for and what is good in our lives, I know that when I have love in my heart and I share love in my relationships, then everything just feels a little better. Look at that. 1 minute and 15 seconds left in this pose. Thinking about the breath, sending that breath deep into that hip. Take an inhale through the nose. Exhale it out the mouth as you slowly begin to rise back up. This time we'll swing that left leg all the way around. I'll turn to face you. We'll stack that that right knee on top of the left. Finding that shoe face on the opposite side. So feeling those sits bones root into the earth. Stacking the knees. Sitting up nice and tall. And then option here, if we want to find those eagle arms, right leg's on top, right arm will come under as we find that X. Bend the elbows, bring the hands together, lifting it up. And then if it feels good for you, you can hinge at the hips, folding in. When you feel even from this side to the other, you can begin to rise, unraveling, shaking out the arms, shaking out the legs. Maybe windshield wipering them back and forth. And then this is the moment when we will need the space on the wall. So I'm just gonna slide you guys over a bit. Allowing yourself to come up to the wall. Sometimes, depending on what feels good in your body, you can take that hip up against the wall, swing those legs all the way up and around, bringing those sits bones to right up to that trim or whatever is right on the wall by you, moving my blocks, sending those legs up nice and long, feeling the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, flexing through the feet. Taking this through a yin pose, 3 minutes in this supported candlestick, if you will. Hopefully you can see me. I can see my feet, so that's good. Knowing anytime we bring the feet above the hips, above the heart, above the head, we're taking that blood that sits in the feet all day long and we're letting it begin to move throughout the body. Relieving tension, letting go of anxiety. Knowing if you're ever at a place where you cannot sleep or you're feeling super anxious, find a wall, put your legs up on. Breathe. Maybe notice here if you can maybe pull the toes in toward the face, but draw those sits bones further down the wall, almost bringing your tailbone to become flat against the earth. It's going to send a deeper sensation into the back of the legs. A minute to go here, noticing any sensations you're feeling in the body. Letting go of any thoughts floating through the mind. Beginning to put a bend in the knees, walking the feet down the wall toward the hips. We'll take our arms out to a T, and then we'll take a twist here. So if it does not feel right in your body, you can scoot those hips out away from the wall a bit, but we'll just begin to walk the feet over to the left, letting the left side of the left leg come down to the floor. Taking those arms out to a T, gazing over that right shoulder. Taking this moment in this twist to massage those digestive organs. To find that wringing out, that detox. Beginning to lift those legs up through center, walking them up and then all the way over toward that opposite side. We'll keep our arms in that T twist. If it's comfortable for you, you can take the gaze back over that left arm. Taking these twists almost like that wringing out of a sponge. Bringing those knees back up through center, lifting the legs up long, wiggling, maybe rolling the ankles in one direction and then the other. This is your opportunity to find your place for Shavasana. So if you want to keep those legs up the wall nice and long, I invite you to do so. If you want to find that traditional Shavasana-like pose where you find yourself long on the mat, I invite you to do that as well. I will choose to find myself coming into a supported fish. So if you have a block on its high end, block on its medium end, bringing my sits bones to the earth, I'll find my shoulder blades coming back on that high block, my head on that highest block. And taking this moment to settle in to your yoga rest. Letting anything from your practice that no longer serves you go. Letting anything from your day, your week, the month so far simply float away. Release the jaw, pull the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Let the eyes sink heavy in their sockets. Release that third eye space as you enjoy your Shavasana, your yoga rest. Slowly begin to reawaken your body, maybe just by first noticing and maybe bringing length back to the breath. Maybe wiggle the fingers and the toes. Roll the wrists and the ankles. Rock the head from side to side. If you find yourself on blocks, maybe slightly lifting up, removing those blocks, coming all the way down to the earth, lifting the arms up above the head on the mat above you, pointing through the toes, finding that good morning stretch, taking an inhale through the nose, filling all the way up, opening the mouth, and letting it go. Bringing a bend to the knees, bringing the soles of the feet to the earth. Softly bringing the arms in and then pulling the knees in toward the chest, maybe lifting the nose. Maybe rocking side to side at first, just massaging that lower back. And then if it's comfortable on your spine, you can find that front to back rock and roll. It gets bigger and bigger. Or you can roll onto one side or the other, pressing yourself all the way up into a comfortable seat. Finding those sits bones once more coming into the earth. Taking a moment to find the length in the spine. Maybe taking a moment here to notice how our bodies may feel different from the beginning of class. Noticing the breath. Choosing to put the hands on the knees, cup in the lap, or come through to heart center. I invite you to bow your chin in. Bowing in is that sign of gratitude. Gratitude for moments like this, where we can come into the moment, we can practice, we can be. Gratitude for this amazing SoulShine community that won't be held down by anything. Gratitude for these beautiful bodies, and most importantly, gratitude for this breath. As you inhale, lift your chin, allow your light to shine. Knowing that on days like these, sometimes the light is brighter than others. But know that your light is there. And know that the love and the light and the strength within me honors and is so thankful for that love, light, strength within each of you. I'm so thankful to share a practice with you this evening. I hope that you are all well. Namaste. Take care, everyone. We will be back together soon. I know it. In the meantime, rest well. Have a good night.